Well, hey there, everybody. We are going back to 2011 today for channel member SE. Portsmouth, Virginia, in fact, a Father's Day show. The daughters were also there, the band's fathers and a son, Jack Fishman as well, as all the girls. A lot of girls these guys have produced, huh? Well, their wives, really, but they partially, were in on the deal. And so where oh, and this also I want to say the sign era. If there's video on there. There's the whole show was videoed on YouTube, and it is striking to see all the signs. Like I remember a little bit of that when I dipped out in 2010. I clearly remember being at Cincinnati in 2010, and somebody had a Rocket Man sign. And my friends and I were just like, "What's up with that Rocket Man sign? They don't play Rocket Man. They're never gonna play Rocket Man. What is that? It was like shaped like a rocket." And then I think at some point they did play Rocket Man. And is that what was up with the signs? You guys could probably fill me in. Because, like I've said many times, 2011, 12, most of 13, well, all of 13, I was kind of checked out and not really following the band day to day. Now, I do remember, or perhaps I'm just confusing it with other years, but I do remember the Father's Day specials and then New Year's Eve, Halloween, things like this. So this would have been a special show, and it was, in fact, a good show. There was, as you see here, a lot of songs being played. Kind of things got a little tight on the whiteboard. I thought I was doing good up here, but then as you can see, by the time we got down here, had to combine wedge and moment dance. There wasn't even a natural alligator mouth there. Got their Thunder Road cover. That was very nice, very meaningful. The crowd felt very respectful during that. So let's just start at the beginning. A Harpua opener. Well, it was a special event, so that's why we have a special opener. Then the Harpua goes into Brother. The fathers came out. They said the part of the dad and Harpua, each one by one. Although Paige's dad, what is up with that? Like, he looked like he was 35 years older than Trey's dad. And I was like, maybe Paige was like the firstborn. I don't know the situation there. I mean, I know men have kids at all different ages, but that was just shocking. That Trey's dad looked like he could be in the band, and Paige's father looked like, he needed a lot of assistance, really. He was just an older man. He needed some help. Didn't seem to understand a microphone at this point. I'm not trying to bag on the guy. I'm getting older every day myself, like all of us. Someday I'll be that guy. I'll be like sitting here trying to make a YouTube video and be like, oh, yes, yes, Dad, or whatever the hell that guy was doing, man. Was that Paige's grandfather by any chance? All right, enough about how old Paige's dad is. I mean, look, this was 2011. I hope he's still with us. He can't be, dude. There's no way. I thought it was Harry Carey, the Cubs' old announcer. So then Brother with the girls out there, kind of awkward for the older girls, like the babies were just like, they seem to be having fun and waving, headsets on. They didn't know what the hell's going on. But the older girls, they just like, what do we do? We just sit here? How long is this song, dads? So then we get in, and then Down with Disease and Back on the Train, both, the guy's feeling really good, fired up, just smoking through both of these, and really didn't calm down there. Everything we were just kind of running through these, but when everything like fits, like sometimes I don't like the songs where they're just checking off a bunch of songs, but if it seems to have a flow, they're good songs, things are going to well together. Like it's just a lot of rock and roll throughout here. They weren't just throwing in just random songs. Everything just seemed to have a little bit of a purpose, all of this. And then got a moment dance way down here, kind of struck me. Not a lot of jamming, really almost the jamming was essentially non-existent. Like a 3-minute tube in there. And then, like I mentioned, the Thunder Road, Clarence from the E Street Band apparently had passed away the day before. So a little very, that was cool. Maybe not their kind of thing, playing a Springsteen song. Kind of glad it hasn't become a regular, but yeah, very cool moment there, and a nod to one of the best. And then Alaska, I'm not a huge Alaska fan. Like, it's not something I'm listening to a studio version of a lot. It's kind of it was one of their better songs of the first set, really. Like one that they actually see, like everything else while they were playing it and playing it fine. Alaska, they seem to really, and Fishman too. Like always, just like it's kind of a Trey solo song, Just once they hit the part where Trey's going to go off, that's usually what the song's all about. But Fishman really fired up on an early Alaska. Kind of a minimum Bowie. Nothing like you might, like I was a little concerned seeing like Fluffhead, Slave, Bowie. Thought we might get some flubs here, but really pretty good playing throughout. And, not everything was flawless. Then Cross-Eyed and Painless, our first chance to get a little jamming. 2011, though. wasn't quite where we are today. This Walls of the Cave, a big smoker right there in that spot. It was, now, like, if some of these songs lacked, like, a little bit, like, they just kind of felt like it was the song, like Bowie. Like, they just got through the song. There was no extra, no mustard, no sprinkling a little brown sugar on there for us. The Walls of the Cave did feel like it was maybe the first one. Well, Back on the Train and Down with Disease. But this one was really the first one that it felt like the energy really kicked up a notch. Apparently, there was a lady there with a sign. What do you know? That's just even worse when they cave in and buy into your signs and were like. I mean, the Harpua they were gonna play. The person with the Harpua sign was all proud of themselves. Look, that had nothing to do with you and your sign. Now the Walls of the Cave, maybe. Slave to the Traffic Light coming early, a little weird for that. And again, like Slave and Fluffhead just had like nothing extra. Nice to hear them both. Fluffhead, while it wasn't like Flubhead, it wasn't quite. This wasn't the tightest, best Fluffhead ever, you know. Getting a little wavy here on the whiteboard. And then Sand, nice jam and Sand. The start, stop, stop, start. I mean, they really stopped. You had time to like go get a drink and put together your kid's bicycle or something. And then they restarted Sand. So that was kind of cool there, getting a little, and even though, yeah, the Fluffhead, like early in the Fluffhead, the crowd was all fired up. And then like a cool part, a nice change, the crowd cheered. But as the song wore on and it was less impressive, you could hear the crowd reaction like, I don't know. Wasn't the strongest Fluffhead, but not the worst either. Sneakin' Sally, all seemed like it was all vocal jam, but it was cool coming out of that Sand into Light, a kind of a weak Light. You know, this was, Light hadn't quite found its heyday yet. Numberline always doing its job, and then they were really excited for Susie. That little part in the middle, you know, they're always, you know, they pick it up a little bit. It's ending the set, but they seemed a little extra happy there. I don't know what it was. They knew the family was there. Can't even remember what Trey was saying. Was he just saying what over and over again? What? There's some reference about going to Paige's house for the neurologist. Whew, that went over my head. I don't know. Lots of stuff does, though. And then a Julius Encore. Trey shared a story about how one of his daughters, I don't even remember which daughter it was, but one of those daughters kicked his ass in Guitar Hero. That was a real, that kind of dated the show, didn't it? The Guitar Hero reference from Trey. All right, SC. Thank you for the request. Thank you for being a member. That was a fun one to go back and listen to. Maybe not like an all-time show or anything, but certainly a very fun show. Someone said in the comments in the video that early 3.0 is aging quite well. And, you know, maybe there's something to that because I usually wouldn't be too excited about a show from 10, 11, 09, 12, you know, that range. There's some good stuff in there for sure. All right, boom. We are out of here. Thank you for being a member, SC. And we will continue the requests throughout the month. Boom. One last look at it. Just look at it, they say.